Mary Ann McLean is here. Her husband, Gary McLean, who also owns this property, is also present. I'm familiar with this property. I'm dreading this. I'm overly familiar with this property. I had a recent landlord-tenant case that was very unpleasant regarding this property. It was in file 251599, and that involved Mary Ann McLean versus Colleen McPherson. And some of that, I think, precipitated the hearing that we have now. I've had several hearings in the past regarding this property. I had a small claims hearing in 2021, Nicole Miller versus Mary McLean. And that was 211320 SC, had to do with the defendant renting the upstairs of their home. Then I had another small claims case, McLean versus Gibson, which, and another small claims, Tony Bresson. And I think I only had one landlord tenant case. Anyway, the house is quite a nice house. It's a nice piece of property. And if I think I understand things, and you can enlighten me, Ms. Gishwin, there's the house, there's the upstairs, there's the basement level. There is also an outside building with, it's a barn that has actually a fully furnished apartment that has been subject to the rentals. The township previously told them you can't do this, and they continue to do it, which is what the allegation is. Ms. Geschwind, do you wish to speak to that?
Yes, John, I believe that is correct. I do have a report to admit from Mr. Kuhlman that does contain some photographs to support those allegations, as well as a report from his visits to the property to support those allegations.
All right, Mr. Kuhlman, why don't you come up to the witness stand and we'll put you under oath. And Mr. Kuhlman, what's your employment?
I work for several municipalities in St. Joseph County and Cass County as a zoning administrator and code compliance officer.
And are you the code compliance officer and zoning administrator for Fabius Township?
Yes, I am.
All right. You issued 2 citations in the matter of Mary Ann McLean.
Yes, I did.
All right, Ms. Geschwind, you may inquire.
Thank you. Mr. Kuhlman, how did you become aware of the property located at 1527 Money Lake Road?
This case stems clear back from 2017 when I received a complaint from some individuals saying that they were renting an apartment in this accessory building, and that they were complaining about the conditions of the building, that they went through 150 gallons of propane in 1 month, and that they were smelling diesel fuel from the tractors in the adjacent portions of the building.
And based on your experience as a zoning administrator, what did those factors mean to you?
Well, the first issue at hand is zoning was established in St. Joe County with most municipalities between 1976 to 1979. Since the history of zoning in Fabius Township, zoning has never allowed for a second dwelling on a property. So this would constitute a second dwelling, which would have never been permitted in the township.
All right. And the address of 15271 Money Lake Road, is that in Fabius Township?
Yes, it is.
St. Joe County?
Yes, it is.
State of Michigan?
Yes, it is.
All right. Did you ultimately visit the property?
I did. I obtained an administrative search warrant from this court and did an administrative search warrant at the property.
All right. And
All right, now are we time forward? We're not in 2017. We're now discussing 2025.
No, I did an administrative search warrant in 2017.
All right,
as well.
so you're still at 17. Okay.
correct. All right. And did you become aware of the property owner at that time?
Yes.
All
Matter
right.
of fact, we met with Mary McLean and later met Mr. McLean in the house.
And Mary and Gary McLean are the owners of the property,
Yes,
and you see them in court today?
yes, sitting right over here.
Let the record reflect the witnesses identify the defendants.
It may.
All right. So tell me what you, with your administrative search warrant, tell me what you saw in 2017.
So the administrative search warrant was for us being allowed on the property and into any buildings on the property. So we went into the first building, which was where the complainant was. Found this conditioned space, by appearance, very nice. But again, not permitted. When we went into the main portion of the house, as the judge indicated, there's a basement area that their one daughter was living in. There was a second story that had a kitchen and a refrigerator, and their other daughter was living in there, and then they were living on the main portion of the house.
Okay. All right. And at that time, what actions did you take?
So we had long discussion with Mrs. McLean. The building inspector was present with me. It was our interpretation at that point in time, because these two floors were being occupied by their children, that was still a single family. However, the building out at the accessory that was being rented was not in compliance with the zoning ordinance. And the building inspector at that time, Randy Smaling, had indicated that the work that had been done, even if it was permitted, would not have met code. So upon our
All right, let me stop you. And I've seen the pictures then and now. They put in as you said, a nice apartment in the barn.
very nice.
Kitchen, bathroom, living space.
Yes.
Was it originally permitted to do that back in 2017 or whenever it was built?
No. And that's what is kind of the bone of contention. I did submit all these reports to the court, so I don't know whether you have it on your.
I
or
do,
not.
I do.
For you to, easier to. Easier if we submit this, Aaron, as evidence.
The building permit certificate of occupancy?
Yeah.
Okay. Is the building permit certificate of occupancy, is that a fair and accurate representation as you remember it?
This was information that was supplied to me by Mrs. McLean, yes.
Okay. Has this been modified or altered in any way?
The only change is I put red circles around the information that's, I think, relevant.
All right. Your Honor, let the record reflect, I'm handing a copy of that document to the defendant. And I move to admit this as plaintiff's one.
Any objection?
There should be another copy of there.
It's the certificate of occupancy for this house.
Yeah, that'd be the big part, right? Your Honor,
Yes,
this is a building permit for our big hay barn in 1998.
that's what they're asking to put in, what the original.
That's not the original building permit for the home and the dwelling.
All right, so this is only the permit regarding the barn, is that correct, Mr. Coleman?
This is for a barn, but there's a drawing that they submitted regarding this. area
So,
that
yeah,
they're
you're
using
putting
as
it in
living
to
space.
show what the original permit was requested for
That
the
is
barn.
correct.
That's not the original permit.
All right, well, we'll admit it for what it is, and then we'll explore further. All right, this is
98.
building certificate of occupancy, September 12th of 98. Permit to build a pole barn for storage in Ag District. There's a drawing attached on page 3, which shows animals, tractor shop, and farm office with kitchenette and toilet and shower.
So, Your Honor, the farm office that's labeled there on that picture, that is what they're using to rent out as this apartment.
Now, in almost every township, you can't have two houses on the same lot or two habitable structures. One issue often is septic and well. Does this apartment in the barn have a separate septic system and a well, or is it off the main one?
I'm not sure, Your Honor, on that question.
All right. Well, if they were gonna put in a separate well and a separate septic tank for drain field, that would have need to have been permitted.
Yes.
Ms. McLean, this is simply, there may be other documents, they're introducing it simply to show the certificate of occupancy when they first addressed this way back in 1998. All right, for that purpose, this is admitted. Would you put a sticker on that for exhibit 1? All right, you may continue.
Thank you. Mr. Coleman, what was the stated purpose of this building pursuant to the certificate of occupancy?
So they get the permits that were submitted to me all said for accessory buildings.
For accessory buildings?
And as we just indicated on the one drawing, they did have the drawing, which was submitted by Mrs. McLean, that it was a farm office, not a dwelling.
Okay. And pursuant to the Fabius zoning ordinance, what's the difference between those two? And I'll have a follow-up question.
So a dwelling or a principal structure would be something that you live in, you habitate in. An accessory structure is something for storage, and things like that. Storing of whatever personal items or farm equipment. In the case of agricultural use, the Michigan Department of Ag does consider a accessory building a principal building if it's for 100% agricultural use. Somebody, a big ag producer could have a vacant piece of land, put up a pole barn without a house, but it has to be for 100% agricultural use. It cannot be for any personal use whatsoever.
And in this drawing here, is there any indication of personal use?
Yes.
And what is that?
Well, it's set as a farm office, which they could have a farm office, but what they're using it for is a dwelling, and that is not permitted.
Okay. All right. So pursuant to the zoning ordinance, you would consider this a dwelling, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. So let's keep going. In 2017, you completed your investigation. Did you compile a report?
I did.
Do you have a copy of that report in front of you right now?
I do.
Is that a fair and accurate representation of that report compiled in 2017?
Yes, it is.
Has that been modified or altered in any way?
There's a yellow tab on the report. The yellow tab is a supplemental report that was done on July 21st of 2025.
Okay.
So it has not been altered in the sense of anything in the original document changed, but there has been a supplemental report added to it.
All right, and was that supplemental report based on your personal visitation to the property on or around July 21st, 2025?
Yes, it is.
Has that been modified or altered in any way?
No, it has not.
Does that include photographs?
Yes, it does.
All right, and those photographs are fair and accurate?
Yes, they are.
All right, Your Honor, I move to admit this as plaintiffs too.
It is the 2017 report when the 2025 supplemental report and the exhibits that are with it.
That is correct, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. McLean, I think you got a copy of that.
No, I
Um,
never got a copy of that report. This is a first.
I'm surprised at that, but
Well, of the Salters in 17, I did, yes, but of 2025, I did not.
okay. Well, let's admit this as exhibit 2. you may continue.
All right, Mr. Coolman, let's run through the pictures in that report.
The original or the supplemental?
Let's start with the original and then we'll move to the supplemental.
All right, just a minute. Let me see if I can. So everybody can see.
Start on page 7, Your Honor.
All right, this is, I believe, the 2017 report. It says 42 photographs were taken of the property. Is that what we're looking at here?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so what are we seeing here in this photograph, which is on page 7?
So this is in the structure that's been identified as a farm office. So you walk in, you can see the first thing is a mattress. There's a television in the background. There's a couple Mountain Dew cans sitting on some type of an end table type device. The next picture is a closet, has a washer and dryer in it, has both outside walls have clothes hanging up from clothes hangers on racks in this closet. And there's also some laundry baskets towards the background. This is a photograph of part of the living room area. Again, a TV, furniture, they got a built-in fireplace. Again, that they have very good taste in their
It is
renovations.
nicely done, but so these are pictures of the apartment in the barn building in 2017 is what we're looking at.
Yes, sir.
All right.
So this is on the other side of the wall. Again, it's a dual-faced fireplace, and then there's some little area underneath it for, I don't know what it is, storage or electrical components, if you will. The next photograph is the back, I'm gonna say the back half of that building. You can see furniture and other items that have been placed in this farm office. The next photograph is a photograph of the bathroom. That it's a full bath. It has a toilet, a wash basin, and a shower unit in this bathroom. Next photograph is a photograph of the kitchen that was installed in this.
We're not in the same sequence. Look at the screen there.
Just scoot it up just a little bit.
Oh, there's the kitchen. All right.
That's the kitchen that's in this farm office.
The permit says kitchenette, toilet, shower. Would you call that a kitchenette?
No, I would not. I would say this is a full-blown kitchen.
Very nice.
It is very nice. Again, this is just another view of that wall-mounted fireplace, and then you can see there's some storage tubs underneath it. That's a picture of the outside of the building. If you scoot up just a little bit on the photograph, you can see where there's a gas line been run into the structure. That is showing where there has been plumbing installed and it's been vented out through the roof and the vent for the heating device that's in there. That's It's a picture of the refrigerator.
No, what I'm seeing, that's,
Hang on,
looks like
I'm
a
off.
red tagging of the property.
No.
I skipped one, I guess. Well, that's the
So
outside.
that's,
That's the venting. That's something posted on the
yeah, that's some
door.
kind of notice that was posted on the door. That,
Is that for occupants?
and that's actually on the house.
Oh, okay. Emergency plan. Electrical permit sideways. What are we looking at there?
Those are the permits that Mrs. McLean handed me to indicate that she did have an electrical permit back in 1992. When you read the permit, though, it's kind of difficult to decipher what the electrical permit was really for.
Plumbing permit.
Yeah, this is, again, permits that Mrs. McLean handed to me. Unfortunately, the inspector that did this inspection and the two inspectors after this are deceased, so there's no way I could go back and consult with them to see what they actually did on this property.
I see John Niken's signature on there,
Mhm.
Hill Township Clerk. And here's a drawing of the drawing that's part of Exhibit 1. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Shows animals, tractor shop, pull-up door, farm office, kitchenette, toilet, shower. So that is the hand-drawn rendition attached to Exhibit 1.
That is correct, Your Honor.
Who drew that?
I do not know the answer to that question.
All right, we're back to photographs. This is listed as, so we're out of the barn, and we're into the house.
That is correct, Your Honor. This is
All
the
right,
second floor of the house.
And again, this is all 2017.
That is correct.
All right, that appears to be a child's bedroom on the second floor. Now this is, there's another space we didn't discuss, which is over the garage of the house.
This is what you're seeing right now, Your Honor.
Yes, so there's the second floor of the house, the basement of the house, the living space of the house, the apartment in the garage, apartment in the barn, and then this apartment above the garage. Is that correct?
This is the second story. You're correct. This is above the main portion of the house.
All right, so this is attached to the house?
Yes, it's
All
right
right,
above.
so it's not a separate one,
No,
because
this
I
is-
thought this is the one we were fighting about recently in the recent landlord tenant case, but maybe I'm mistaken.
No, the first photographs that you
Oh,
saw on the landlord tenant case were the ones that you were dealing with then.
All right, those would have been in the barn.
Yes.
All right, and here we've got living space above garage. People call that a bonus room or something, but it looks like there's a kitchen, a separate kitchen above the garage.
There is. That I would determine more of a kitchenette, but there is a kitchen, a cook stove and a refrigerator.
And that's the stove and the island. So was somebody living in that space also?
Back in 2017, they said their daughter and I believe it was a granddaughter was living in this area.
Okay. And here's a hallway up on the second, in that same space,
Yes,
and a bathroom in that space,
yes, Your Honor.
another laundry room on the second floor,
Correct.
hallway on the second floor,
Yes, this leads back to another bedroom.
which is that bedroom.
Yes, Your Honor. This is a smoke detector on the second floor that was obviously non-functional.
Probably was peeping and they unplugged it to not go crazy. This is the principal kitchen in the house.
Yes, this is the kitchen on the main floor.
Again, very nice.
This is kind of like a dining room area on the main floor. That's a living room area on the main floor.
Another laundry space in the main floor.
Yes, on the main floor.
3 washers and dryers. So hopefully they have a big septic system.
That's just another view of the kitchen
Alright,
area
so
on the main
no,
floor.
this says basement. There's another kitchen in the basement of this home.
Yes,
All right, so we're now, went from the second level to the main level, and now we're in the basement level. And at this time, another daughter of the defendants or a family member was living in the basement.
that's what I was advised. Yes, Your Honor.
And these are some of the living quarters in the basement.
Yes.
More bedroom in the basement. And there's an unhappy dog, 2 dogs in that space. I wish they were out of there. In that same space, and this is a bathroom in the basement area.
Yes, a bathroom with it being used with a space heater.
And very nice view. They've got a patio and a pond and some woods outside the back of their house.
Correct.
And now we're back in the barn where that other apartment is.
This is a different barn. No, this
Okay.
is not the barn with a habitable space.
All right, it says accessory building where living space is located. But there's no,
I may have that mislabeled, Your Honor, because I believe this is the other barn that
okay.
is just a few feet away from the living space.
Who is the person we keep seeing in the pictures?
That is Randy Smaling, the building official at the time.
All right, and you took these pictures?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
All right, and there's the power supply to the property. We're getting to the end of these. Is that correct?
Yes,
And additional accessory building. So there's another garage or barn where they can store this kind of stuff, lawnmower and side by side, that sort of stuff.
yes, that would be perfectly permitted.
And that doesn't have an apartment in it?
No. This is the entry door going into what's been identified as the farm office. That's a dwelling that after our inspection, we did placard it as unsafe for human habitation. And that's the other entry door to that same area.
All right, that finishes the pictures from 2017. All right, so if I recall what your testimony was, you and Mr. Schmaling felt that it was legitimate for the McLeans to have additional living space on the second floor and the basement, as long as their family members were living there, and you considered that to be a single family dwelling.
That's correct, Your Honor.
But at that time, you did not permit the dwelling structure in the barn.
No, we did not.
All right. What was the upshot of the 2017 case?
We had a conversation with Mrs. McLean. And at that time, she claimed she didn't realize that she couldn't do that. And that she assured us that it would not happen again. Cited for anything back in 2017.
All right, Ms. Fishwant.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Coleman, I want to talk about, let's move forward in time to July 19th, 2024.
Okay.
Okay, at that time, did you write a letter to Gary and Mary McLean about some potential zoning and building code violations?
Yes, I did.
All right, do you have a copy of that letter in front of you?
I do.
Your Honor, let the record reflect I'm handing a copy of that letter to the defendants. All right, Mr. Coleman, this is the document.
Just give me a minute. Let me stop the screen share here. Figure out how to get it back. All right, we're back to our regular screen.
Mr. Coleman, is this a fair and accurate representation of the letter that you sent to Gary and Mary McLean on July 19th, 2024?
Yes, it is.
Has it been modified or altered in any way?
It has not.
Your Honor, I move to admit this as plaintiff's 3.
Any objection? All right, plaintiff's 3 will be admitted.
All right, Mr. Coleman, let's kind of run through this letter. What was the purpose of writing this letter?
Contrary to popular belief, I do not go out looking for problems, but I did receive a call. Somebody was aware of this situation, thought that they were not supposed to be renting out the building.
I'm going to pause you and I'm going to back you up just a minute. They were aware of this situation. What situation specifically?
So this is from the 2017 where we posted it as unsafe for human habitation. We had to chat with them, told them it was family in the house.
Right.
We weren't going to do any citations or court actions.
Okay.
So then we moved to 2024 and we get the township gets contacted and Mrs. McLean's out on Facebook looking for people to rent space. And so I went and verified on Facebook that she was doing it. She has since blocked me from her Facebook page. But I sent a letter to her. I gave her a section of the zoning ordinance that does not allow for the multiple dwellings on the property, along with an explanation as to why she could not do it. And then I also captured and made part of the record, I screenshot the post from Facebook and the communication that she was having with others of this issue.
Okay, and the specific violations and the sections are kind of in the front, I would say maybe half to 1/3 of this letter.
That is correct.
Okay, and then the Facebook posts are kind of the back, maybe 2/3.
That is correct.
All right, and what did you learn from the Facebook?
Well, again, after 2017, she assured me that she wasn't going to be renting out the space, but then she turns around in 2024 and starts putting it out that she does want to rent that space. And again, the main portion of the house is a single family dwelling. So the other portion of the house could not be rented out to another family.
And to you, does the renting out, does that deviate from the single family, or is there any other criteria that deviates a single family dwelling from a multiple family dwelling?
Well, a single family is defined. So whether you're charging rent or whatever, if you put 5 different families in one home, by definition of a family, that would be a violation, whether you're charging any rent or not.
And the definition of a family is people who are related?
Correct.
All right. All right. Did you create an additional supplemental report? I'm talking about potential for farmhands or migrant workers living on a farm.
That is just a copy, so that I figured it would come up today. The next supplemental report that I did was on July 21st of 2025, which is in the main packet and has the yellow tab beside it.
Okay. Judge, if we could pull that back up to 2025. Mr. Coleman, did you investigate the property again on July 21st, 2025? Permission from an administrative search warrant?
I did conduct an administrative search warrant. This was, actually, the search warrant was served on the 23rd. I actually got a call from Mrs. McLean. She was requesting my help. She indicated please not to yell at her because her family was already yelling at her for it. But she felt sorry for a lady that apparently didn't have a place to live. And so she put her in that living space that has been deemed unsafe for human habitation.
And that was the kind of, I guess, barn office that was, we had a hand-drawn picture of back, I believe, in plaintiff's one.
That is correct.
And there was, she indicated at that time there was somebody living there.
Correct.
Okay. So did you then go onto the property?
I did not go that day. I advised Mrs. McLean that if I got involved in it, the only option that I would have at this point would be to write her a citation for violation of the International Property Maintenance Code and the zoning code, because that unsafe for human habitation placard still was in place. So I did not respond on that day. A short time later, I got a call from the tenant that was in there, and she was complaining about various things that were going on that the McLeans were doing to her. And at that point, I advised her that her best option would probably be to call Adult Protective Services, which ended up being a landlord-tenant case as well.
Which I would ask the court to take judicial notice of.
Yeah, that is file number 251599 LT. Mary McLean versus Colleen McPherson, which is how I got back into this. Now, there was a small claims case in 2021, 211320. Nicole Miller and Landon Miller versus Mary McLean, which had to do with, again, renting this space and the return of a security deposit. I recall that case. But it had, there were posts and other things regarding the rental of this property. So it was being rented apparently in 2021 also. Then there's a couple of other cases we may refer to, but so it came up again in the context of the small claims case, and then it came up again in the context of this landlord tenant case. The tenant claimed she was paying $1,000 a month. The plaintiff claimed there was no rent. I never resolved that question. We just needed to get that lady out of there, and she left it in a deplorable condition. So it was never clear to me whether rent was being paid. I suspect it was, but we didn't have to resolve that question. So, all right. So now, because of the landlord tenant case, you get drawn back into this. Is that correct?
Yes, I actually on July 23rd then got a call from Adult Protective Services, and they requested the township's assistance in doing an investigation on this property once again. And so based on their request, I did secure another administrative search warrant from this court. And on July 23rd, myself and Pam Kirkland from Adult Protective Services executed the administrative search warrant.
And did you take photographs?
Yes, I did.
And those are the photographs present after the yellow tab admitted in plaintiff's exhibit 2.
Yes, it is.
All right, if we could walk through those photographs real quick.
All right, and these are part of Exhibit 2, but these are photos taken in July of 2025.
That is correct, Your Honor. This is a picture of the bathroom. Mary indicated to me that, Mary McLean, that has indicated to me that they had somebody coming to repair the floor because the floor was bad. And there was one of those plank boards there that was soft, that if you stepped on it, if I stepped on it very hard, I probably would have gone through the floor. This is one of the things the tenant was complaining about, that Ms. McLean had a heating and cooling company come in and put a locked box cover over the thermostat so that she couldn't have any control of it. And also Mary McLean indicated that she had the HVAC company reprogram the thermostat so that she was limited on what she could do as far as temperatures. Again, this is the front portion of that same space.
Now, we're in the barn right now, correct?
Yes, these are all in the barn. The 2025 inspection, I did not go in the house at all. So these would all be in the, what's been labeled as the farm office. So clearly seeing a bed and a lot of clothing and other things in this area of the room. Again, the same wall that you saw from 2017 that's got the fireplace in the wall, a lot of clothing in that area as well. This is now in the back half of that same building where there's, I don't know whether it's a mattress or just a blow up mattress, but there's furniture and television stuff back in this portion of the house as well. This is again just a picture of the kitchen area that's in this building. My building inspectors hate me for doing this, but I always open up the refrigerator. Obviously, you can see that there's fresh food in the refrigerator, giving the resemblance that it is being occupied.
We've seen some ugly refrigerator pictures.
This is just another view of the kitchen area, and to the right is the complainant on this investigation. This is an outdoor porch area on the back of this building, like a sitting area.
That looks like a real good place to take a nap.
Again, I'm back inside now. That's the back half of this farm office. It's got the other side of the fireplace and some furniture and other items in that area. This is just another view of the kitchen and the complainant that was sitting in the kitchen at the time. Just photographs of obviously being occupied. There's fresh plants in the window growing. Again, another placard was placed this year on both the doors that were previously placarded saying that this is unsafe for human habitation. Just the other door towards the back. This is a thermometer that I took because one of the complaints was that the living space was over 80 degrees in the farm office, and that it was unbearable for her and her dog to stay in. So I did take a thermostat with me. This was just as we were getting ready to leave. And my thermostat that I had, or thermometer, registered 79 degrees in the living space.
63% humidity.
Yes. This is an area that the complainant was saying that they placed the fence right up next to the porch and that they were housing pigs next door, so that it would made it difficult for her to sit out on the back porch.
Is that a pig trough there?
I'm not a farmer, so I'm not sure. I would say that it's something for feed or water, yes. This is just a picture of the propane tank. They'd indicated that there was no propane in it. It does register as having some propane in it, so I'm not sure what the malfunction was there. That's just another picture of the placard that's on the door.
That appears to be the end of the pictures.
Yes, and then the rest is just copies of the citations that I issued.
All right, thank you.
All right. Kind of gone through a lot of pictures, but can you summarize the events of July 23rd, 2025 from the best of your recollection?
So again, this investigation was done by Pam Kirkland from Adult Protective Services and myself. Again, this is not a dwelling. It can't be a dwelling. So we placarded it again. I did not, my search warrant, administrative search warrant did allow me to go back into the house. I chose not to. However, Ms. Kirkland did go in the house. I do not know. She didn't take any pictures that I'm aware of. But we now have an additional issue there because the second floor living space is now not being occupied by a daughter. And by their own admission to me, they're renting the space out to a traveling nurse, storing her stuff there. And then once in a while, if she's in the area, she would stay there. So that's not a single family dwelling anymore. That's now a multifamily that they're renting out the upstairs. I was also advised that there was a male subject living in the basement, but that he had just left the day or two before of my investigation. And it was my understanding that both of those parties are getting charged rent as well. So that now would be a multifamily dwelling, which has never been permitted. I did explain to Mrs. McLean that if she went through the proper permitting, she could physically make that house a duplex. A duplex would be allowed in that zoning district, but it has not been done. So
You've received no applications for permits to turn it into a duplex?
I'm sorry?
You haven't received any applications for permits to turn it into a duplex?
No, I have not.
All right, continue. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's fine. So on this occasion, I did issue the 2 citations. Because obviously she assured me before that she wouldn't do it again. She has done it again. And it is clearly a violation of the state construction code and the previous township zoning ordinance.
Anything else important in your visits to the property that we have not yet discussed?
I don't believe so.
I have nothing further. Thank you, Your Honor.
Did you have, Aaron, did you have this one?
Yes, that's what it is.
Okay. Well, that's a separate issue, not on that date, but I would like to,
Well, there's 2 separate tickets. File 251466 alleges nuisance ordinance. And the other ticket alleges zoning ordinance violations present. So there's 2 citations for the same thing, and I'm not exactly sure where the line is between one and the other.
if I may.
Yes,
So they're both citations are a municipal civil infraction, so they're a nuisance per se. The first one, I'm not sure what your case numbers are, but the first one that is issued or checked nuisance ordinance and zoning violation, that is a citation because of a couple reasons. Number one, you can't have more than one dwelling on a property. Number two, they've now made multiple living spaces in the main dwelling, which is again a violation of the zoning ordinance. And so from that perspective, that citation is in regard to the number of dwellings that are on the property. On the other citation, again, yes, it is a nuisance ordinance, but it is issued for the unauthorized dwelling space that they put in the accessory building. That fails to meet code under the International Property Maintenance Code of the State Construction Code.
All right, so one is overall, including the upstairs basement that they're allegedly renting other space in their home. And then the other one, number two, is just specifically the apartment in the barn.
That is correct, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
All right. I guess I have a couple more questions. Mr. Coleman, you indicated that you wanted to discuss an event that took place on October 23rd, 2025. Did you compile a report about that?
Yes, I did.
You have a copy of that report in front of you.
I do.
You're gonna let the record reflect I'm handing a defendant a copy of that report.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Coleman, you're looking at the report from October 20, or an investigation from 2023 about a Facebook site.
I am.
Has this report been modified or altered in any way?
It has not.
All right, Your Honor, I move to admit this as, I believe, plaintiff's court.
All right, I don't have that, do I?
I believe you have it on base, but there's,
I don't think so, not from October 23rd.
All right. Mr. Coleman, on October 23rd, you were made aware of a Facebook site entitled Homesteads Looking for Helpers, Helpers Looking for Homesteads.
that is correct.
Did you conduct an investigation based on that, your awareness of that website?
I did.
All right, and what did that investigation produce?
So again, by other means, I had to get through to this site. Mary McLean has posted on October 3rd, this site, again, that she is looking for people.
23rd. Oh,
I'm sorry, yes. Oh, no, her post was October 3rd. And she's looking for, there's some captions and screenshots towards the back, that she is again looking for somebody to come out and live on the farm in a fully furnished dwelling space. This is even after she was issued the citations and before this court case. So again, she's having a total disregard for Fabius Township's ordinances.
Okay, and just to be clear, Ms. McLean's posts are the ones that are outlined in red?
That is correct.
Okay. And then you also included in there some information about labor camps.
So on several different occasions, Mrs. McLean has indicated that she's a farm and that she can have farm workers or migrant workers on her property to help them. I'm not disputing that. However, number one, the space that is there has never been permitted by the township. And if you have migrant housing and migrant housing workers, that is, and that's what this section was that I gave you, under the Public Health Code, Act 368 of 1978, in its section 333.12411, and the law clearly indicates that if they want to have migrant housing or labor camp housing, that has to be licensed through the state of Michigan. And
Right,
there's
I'm
no
giving the
evidence.
defendants a copy of that section of the Public Health Code. I would ask the court to take judicial notice. I do have a copy printed out should the court need it.
The citation has been put into the record, and I have it, 333.12411. Thank you.
All right, continue, Mr. Coleman.
So it's very frustrating that when you try to work with somebody and they continually just try to defy what the rules and regulations are that I didn't make. It makes it very difficult and frustrating to work with them.
You previously indicated that the migrant or agricultural labor camps were allowed with proper permits.
Correct.
Have there been any permits in this situation?
To all the checking that I have done, there is no license in the state of Michigan for this property for a migrant worker or a labor camp.
That's good. I have nothing further then.
All right. Mr. or Mrs. McLean, do you have any questions you'd like to ask of Officer Coleman?
I do.
All right, go ahead and use the podium so you'll be in frame. Which was number 4? Oh, this one, yes. Number 4, the report of October 23rd is admitted. Thank you. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Should I be sworn in?
No, you're not under oath.
Okay.
He is. You can ask him questions
Okay.
if you like.
You do this for a living. This is hard for me, Mr. Coleman, but I'm gonna try and muddle through it. The building permit that you handed out was for our big hay barn, the one you call the accessory barn, and there was a club car, UTV and stuff in
Is there a
there.
question in here?
Well, we'll get there. Let's see. We'll give her some leeway. She's not an attorney.
That's a separate building. It was 10 years after the fact that we built our property. So I just want to make sure that
Well, ask the question. You'll have a
You-
chance to testify.
you're under
if
the
you wish to.
impression that that's the permit for the farm dwelling that I have.
Those are the permits that you gave me saying you had permits for that building.
I don't believe that's correct. But I have here the original building permit from 1992 and 1993 that you had copies of in all the paperwork that you, and these are the ones that I gave you. There's a picture of Randy's thumb in most of them because he held them as he took the pictures. True?
Randy may have them. I'm not, first of all, I can't see them from across the
Can
room.
I
Second of all,
give them
Yes.
to the judge or something?
No, you can show them to him. You're talking about the electrical permit and the plumbing permit?
And the building permit, and the drawing, the hand drawing of the farm office.
Okay.
so the page 2 of the drawing that she's given me is the same one that she handed me before that indicates a farm office. This building permit, and maybe Randy's mailing got it, I'm not aware of it, but this is a permit from 1992. It's identified as permit number F Frank 90-92, issued to Gary McLean. However, this is saying build a pole barn and install a mobile home, dwelling and storage. So it was a 24 by 36 mobile home. No, I'm sorry, the barn was 24 by 36 and the mobile home was a 14 by 70. And I'm not aware that there's any mobile home on that property today.
Okay.
You want this for evidence or?
Well, we'll take. a
So
look
I
at
can't
it.
really make statements. All I can do is ask
Well,
questions.
you can make statements when it's your turn to testify,
Okay, all right, got it.
but right now you can just ask
Okay.
questions.
Are you aware of the conversation we had at the time the Salters in 17 made their calls to you? Why the police were there?
You had conversations about police, yes, but the police weren't there when I was there.
Well, the SWAT team must have just left because the Salters pulled a handgun on me. That's why this all started in 2017. Were you ever aware that that happened?
You said you'd had police interaction with something out there, but that doesn't involve the township.
Okay, well, SWAT was there and the Salters were taken off the property that day by Veterans Affairs. Apparently he had quite an anger issue. Were you aware that I originally got the Salters in there to be farm help?
I don't recall that, no. Again, it would be irrelevant.
Is farm housing still allowed in section 1 of Fabius Township in the Ag District?
Farm housing, labor camps or migrant
Not a
workers?
labor camp, just farm housing. I don't want migrant workers. So not migrant workers, not labor camps, just farm housing, like the ordinance book reads. 2 words, farm housing, no description. Is that still allowed?
I would have to look at the ordinance, but farm housing, you could have a property with a house for farm housing, yes. But there's nothing in the ordinance that allows for multiple dwellings on one property. Unless you would go through the migrant camp labor workers and license it with the state, and they have a whole specification at the state level as far as square footage and what's required in a migrant house. That would all be through the state of Michigan.
We've been in contact with the US Department of Labor, and because of the scale of my operation, our operation. it
Again,
is- Said I
you're
don't
not
need it.
testifying.
Okay, I'll try to form a question out of that.
right.
I guess I'd still like an answer. Is just farm housing allowed without the migrant camp, labor camp part
On a separate parcel.
on a separate parcel? Some of the documents that you sent me in some of these letters, which is a pile of paperwork, I'm sorry, I can't quite find my way like you can. I'm just an old woman. But I believe it is section 46 of permitted uses. In line number 1, where it says farm dwellings. Are you familiar with that at all? Section 46, 223, permitted uses. It's the first page of the letter that you wrote me about a year ago.
Right, I have the whole entire book.
Oh,
Section 46 is the whole entire section of the zoning ordinance. Farm dwellings, barns, stables, silos, housing for farm labor and accessory buildings, structures, and uses customarily incidental to any of the foregoing uses unless otherwise specifically provided in the article. So that is what 46-223 subparent 1 says. If we go to section 46-223, number 5, subsection 8. In that same section, it will tell you single or 2 family homes and accessory buildings, structures, uses customarily and incidentally thereto. So if you want to make your home a duplex and you want to have farmhand there, yes, you could do that. If you wanted to split part of your parcel and build a home on that parcel for farm labor, you could do that.
so what you're telling me is one section of the ordinance conflicts with the other. Because in one it says housing for farm labor, and then the other one you just read me, which I don't have a copy of, it says something different, but it doesn't really allude to farm housing.
Next page of the letter that I did give you.
I don't have it in my letter.
Laura, would you ask Kim to pull these 2 files from me?
The letter that I sent to you on July 19th of 2024, it's at the top of page 3. Third line down.
So I'm mistaken in permitted uses for farm housing, housing for farm labor. That's not what it says, so I'm mistaken in that.
I don't think you're mistaking that you can have farmhouses, but it's how you have to have
Housing.
them. So if you want to have a duplex on your property and one half be your dwelling and one half be a farm person's farm help dwelling, you can do that. If you want to split off part of your property and build a, Fabius Township requires a minimum of 1,000 square feet of dwelling space per main floor. If you wanted to split a section of your property, build a little house over there, 1,000 square feet, and you want that as a farmhouse labor for your help, you can do that. Or you can go to state of Michigan and get permitted for migrant, and they have their own separate rules as far as the house.
We've never wanted to do migrant type, we like local, but this doesn't make sense to me, how you're explaining this to me, because even in section 2, it explains.
All right, well,
agriculture.
what we're doing is, for one thing, you're wasting a lot of court time, that's valuable court time. You're not asking questions. You're engaged in some sort of philosophical debate. If you want to get up and testify, your theory is misplaced. You can't do what you want to do, and you know it. You know you can't rent that building out. You've known it for many years. You've been renting it out. You don't like the fact that you can't do it, so you do it anyway. You haven't filed anything that says, here's what we're doing it under. You're citing some federal regulations that may apply in an ancillary circumstance, but everything that he says to you is you can't do this. You could do it if you do it right, but you were disingenuous and you were dishonest about what you did. You told them you weren't going to do it anymore. You continued to do it. I've had several contentious cases with tenants who didn't like the way the whole thing went down, including this messy, ugly last one, where this lady was not farm labor.
Kim has to go to the basement.
Yes.
There are some in convicts.
And so the 2018s were not in on base, I don't think. Oh, there, are they? Okay, I'll find them there.
She's gonna pull the hard copies.
All right. So if you want to ask him some questions, if you want to get up and tell your side, you could do that. But I know you're doing the best you can. You're not a lawyer and you're doing all right, but this isn't helpful to your cause. So I'll let you go ahead and ask the
Okay.
questions you've got, but let's see if we can limit it to questions.
I'll
He's
try.
under oath, you're not.
I'll try. Mr. Coolman, are you aware of how much of my homestead exemption has been taken away and for how many years?
I'm aware that you do not have 100% homestead exemption, yes, but I don't know anything else.
Allow me to give you this principal exemption. Because even though my daughter and granddaughter were living upstairs, which you testified to, and my son, still you recommended to, I guess, the township assessor to take away my homestead. Is that true?
I informed the township assessor that you had rental space, although unlawful, you had rental space that you were renting out on your property. I did notify the assessor of that, yes.
Okay.
It's his determination as to whether you get 100% or what you qualify for your principal residency exemption.
Do
I
you,
did not notify him in 2025 after this that you're renting out the basement and the upstairs, or he would probably take it down further yet.
do you have proof that there's someone in the basement currently or upstairs?
In 2025, I did not know, but your husband admitted that you're renting the upstairs to a traveling nurse that was storing her stuff up there. Matter of fact, I think you said it, that it's a traveling nurse, and occasionally, if she was in the area, she stayed there.
Are you aware of the conversation that we had that I told you about the storage? Do you remember that?
So I'm not sure which question is.
She's an ultrasound technician. She stores her things there. Are you aware of the conversation?
You did tell me that, yes.
Okay, she does not spend the night. Are you aware of my telling you that? Do you remember that?
You told me that. Mr. McLean said on occasion when she's in the area, she does stay there.
Mr. McLean hasn't been well. Have I informed you of all of his health concerns?
I
Do you
failed to see the
remember?
relevance of this line of questioning.
Because
I agree. Let's see if we can focus on what we're. So ultimately, this cost you money because it affected your tax status. Wasn't aware of that.
what did Pam tell you after she went in the house? Did she give you a report of what was in the house? Because I offered for you to come in, but you refused. Did she tell you something about what was in the house?
I would object, that would call for hearsay.
He alluded to
Sustained.
it in his letter. He might testify.
It is hearsay, even if he did. All right. Go ahead and ask your next question.
May I refresh your memory about what Pam said after she went in the house?
It would still be hearsay.
No, it's hearsay. Pam can testify as to what she said or saw, but this witness can't testify as to what somebody else said.
Do you have any proof that I've ever taken $1 from a renter?
Physical proof? No.
So just hearsay proof?
It's from your tenants that were living on the property that told me they were paying you rent.
Have you ever come across tenants that say there's something that they're not?
I don't know.
Why did you ask me to evict Colleen McPherson in 2025?
Because your building is placarded as unsafe for human habitation since 2017. And you assured me back in 2017, you would not rent that out again. And then you turned around and did it and then called me begging for help because you said you messed up and felt sorry for somebody and put them in that dwelling.
That is very true. It's unsafe for any human habitation, but you did not ask her to leave. Is that correct?
I posted it as unsafe for human habitation. I did tell her that she could not stay there. She could come and get her stuff. She could not sleep there. She could not cook there. She couldn't watch the Friday night football game there, that it was unsafe for human habitation. I do not have the physical ability under any of these laws or ordinances to physically grab onto somebody's shoulder and escort them off the property. If they don't leave, then that would be another matter for this court.
Which it was.
Sad one too. She's living in her car. Do you remember in one of the pictures that there were plants in the windows that you pointed out about the air conditioning? Okay. What were the windows at that day that you were there? Were they open or closed?
They were partially open.
And there was boxes and thermostats and everything looked mechanically okay at that time.
There were boxes and thermostats, whether they were mechanically okay, I don't know.
Okay. This is hard. This is, I guess one other thing I would like to point out. Are you aware who built our barn that has the illegal dwelling?
I believe you indicated Mr. Hoyt built it.
Correct. Good memory. I guess I'd rather just testify then, because this is, like Your Honor says, kind of wasting the court's time because I'm inadequate for this.
Well, you're doing the best you can, but the rules of evidence apply. And your statements are not evidence, your questions are. So, all right, you can step down, Ms. McLean, if you want to testify. I'll let you do it right from where you are. I'll put both you and Mr. McLean under oath. Would you both please raise your right hand? Gary, would you raise your hand as well? You swear or affirm any testimony you're about to give here will be true to the best of your knowledge and belief.
I do.
All right, Ms. McLean, what would you like me to know?
First and foremost, from the very beginning of building our property, we have endeavored to obey all laws, ordinances, or anything. how to build a code, everything. I appreciate Mr. Coleman's statements that we have a nice place. 99% of our place is all off Craigslist. Everything in that apartment is used. It all came used, and we made a purse out of a sow's ear. The stress that's went on from this since 2017 is immeasurable. It's pretty hurtful that he doesn't even remember that there were 17 sharpshooters on our farm. And Mr. Coleman took the time that I was most upset. I'd like to ask Mr. McLean to maybe make a statement about
Well,
that day.
all right, so there was a previous man, he had some mental health problems as well. And somehow he ended up living there, and he was a veteran, and they ended up getting him out. But that's how's that relevant to this?
Because since then, we have been stalked practically. Who goes on other people's Facebook pages and stuff like that? He says he doesn't go out looking for things, but my goodness.
Somebody made a complaint to the township that you were renting these properties out, which is what started it. And I'm sure he feels like I do. I wish I wasn't even here. But you're doing stuff that you know you're not supposed to be doing, and you're trying to put a lipstick on a pig. But go ahead. That incident in 2017 was when it first became known that someone was living in there, but it's not really relevant to this. But if you want to tell me about it,
No, that's okay. I'll go back to trying to be as legal as possible. Things were simpler back in the 90s. John Niken and John Hawley, the inspector, that drawing, the three of us sat there and he wanted us to make just kind of a hand drawing of what this little farm housing was going to be.
yeah, I don't think that would get it today.
No, but it did then, and I
Yeah.
was in, Mr. Dunlap was there too, the supervisor, so I did what they asked me to do at the time. And they said, well, what are you first gonna use? Well, we were pretty stretched money, and I said, first, it'll be my office to decide how we can manage to do all this thing. So he said, write down office. And Mr. Coleman has used that word against me so many times that it was just gonna be a farm office. My office is in the house. It was redone, which Mr. Coleman knows and is aware of, when we had a fire out there. Our son Kurt Allwine was living out there and built a little wood stove instead of the fireplace, and we had a fire, so it was rebuilt some. Mr. Coleman told me we shouldn't have been able to do that, but I mean,
Well, let me ask this. Is there more than one well?
no.
Is
We
there
had
more than
5-inch
one?
well,
Is there more than one drain field and septic tank?
2, and they were put in by Roberts Brothers.
All right, so there's a drain field and septic system for the house
Yes,
and a drain field and septic system for the barn.
yes, a huge one.
Did the health department give you a permit for that?
Yes, Mr. Zimmerman was there and inspected them.
All right, that's interesting.
I do know that there's a problem. I can't remember how we became aware of it, but Mr. Zimmerman wasn't there the day that Frank covered everything up. So I don't think there's good drawings. So we since then have made drawings because we obviously aren't going to be around here forever and people need to know these things. The well was put in by Lewis Well. These are not things do-it-yourselfers do.
No. All right, he represents that back in 2017, he told you, hey, don't do this anymore. And he didn't pursue any enforcement action. Again, 2017, somebody made a complaint. So the township followed up on the complaint. He went out there and determined you had this is a full-blown, fully furnished apartment. And he said, hey, you can't rent that. If your daughter's upstairs, your daughter's in the basement, you can do that. Things have evolved. Other renters have been in there. Noel, Nicole and Landon Miller were in there in 2021. And they paid cash money security deposit, which you declined to return. So we had a lawsuit regarding that. And then Miss McPherson was in there long enough to make a mess of the place. She claimed she paid $1,000 a month rent. You claim no rent was paid. I know a security deposit was paid in 2021. Nobody was under oath. I believe rent was paid, but I didn't make a finding to that. And you say stuff in your Facebook page, like it's hard to make a go these days. We need some supplemental income. So the allegation is you're not doing this out of the goodness of your heart. You're doing it because you want extra income to help defray costs. So these are money makers. And you spent tens of thousands of dollars to furnish this apartment, the kitchen, the bathroom, the construction, to just leave it empty. The problem is in Fabius Township or most other townships, you can't do this. There's also, and I don't know what the current status of Airbnb rules are in Fabius Township. So let's assume that this was all permitted and you wish to do short-term rentals. Now, if you just owned a separate house, you wanted to rent it, you could do that. You own the house, you can rent it, I always advise people to get a lease and rent your house, be a landlord. If you're renting rooms or small apartments on a temporary basis, they become Airbnbs or what are known as short-term rentals. And many of the townships, including Fabius, have limited that practice. Park Township, where I live, limited it to 10. Lockport Township limited it to 10. Fabius Township has all the lakes. And I think they limited it to 20 short-term rentals, Airbnb rentals. So I'm not sure what the status of that is. So the corollary would be that this is somehow like this visiting nurse. I believe she stays there. Her stuff is there. She's paying you money to keep her stuff there and she sleeps there when she comes. That's a short-term rental. I don't know whether that meets the township rules or not. I don't know who was living in the basement paying rent. Again, some of it's sort of speculation. So those are less clear, but the apartment in the barn is crystal clear. The township doesn't allow that as a rental property. It's not a permitted migrant camp. It's not farm housing. This lady wasn't a farmer. She wasn't a farmhand. So they tell you don't do this in 2017. They tell you don't do it in 2025 in July. And in August, you're posting stuff on Facebook trying to get a tenant in there. And they're like, hey, this sounds like a good deal. We'd like to move here from the UP. My husband and I, we're handy. We'd like to move there. So you completely ignored what brought us here in the first place. And as I repeat, you're trying to put lipstick on a pig who maybe could eat in the trough behind this apartment. But there are some interesting things that you note. This was permitted sort of in the old days on a scrap of paper, hand drawn with a pencil. But I am interested that the health department permitted a separate drain field. Now, you testified to that. I don't have any independent proof of it, but I'll take your word for it because you couldn't run this much stuff on one septic system. So I'm very surprised the township was willing, I mean, the health department was willing to permit it in the first place. But here we are. So I keep cutting you off with my little asides
No,
here.
I appreciate that.
All right,
You're
what else
kind of
would you-
right. I live in the past because I can still vividly remember getting my permits and doing what we were doing. So I had full confidence that my permits that we bought and
He
paid
told
for,
you in 2017 that you couldn't do this
that I
anymore.
couldn't rent it,
Yes,
and I have not rented it.
I don't believe you. I do not believe it. You're under oath.
I know.
And Nicole and Landon Miller were renting it
No,
and are prepared to rent it. They gave you a security deposit, which is money. The people were under oath at that hearing. And although Miss McPherson testified, I think she was using somebody else's money, like senior services or somebody was paying her rent. If I recall, there would be some sort of record of that. Why would you let some lady come in and trash your place like that if there wasn't any economic return?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, Mr. McLean?
um, First of all, the lady Colleen McPherson,
Yes,
she was in that same place that we were talking about today.
yes.
The other people that you mentioned that you thought was in there were not, they weren't in that building. They
Which
in
building
our
were they in?
house.
They were in the house. Okay,
Yes.
we're going to be. They never actually.
yes,
The other
COVID
thing
hit.
is that, yes, Miss McPherson, Colleen, absolutely was asked right in the beginning if she would help out doing some chores, you know, that she could handle, blah, blah, blah. Unfortunately, her health went downhill pretty fast after she moved in there.
And she also moved her son in, didn't she?
She tried to move, yeah, her son tried to run over me once. I mean, there's been all kinds of.
It is a
stuff.
bad deal all the way around.
That was a bad deal. We have never had anybody there that we absolutely asked for help with our farm. Well, the whole time, including the person that you're talking about that did the deposit thing, all
The
that.
Millers.
I don't think they even stayed there. one day.
No, COVID hit and there were issues and they didn't stay there. They were suing to get their deposit money back.
But they did
Yes.
have about 20 horses on our property. Their
Again,
horses.
another thing that, so after 2017, we called the township at least 3 times trying to get information on what we had to do, could or couldn't do to be able to, you know, use that space again. And we never got any reply from them until all this stuff came back around again.
We went to planning commission
But-
meetings.
But you're right, that was probably close to the COVID time. when
That was with the Millers, yes.
Well, I have a gentleman, he's passed now. He lives where I live. And he has a property that is, Doug, you're familiar with this property. Part of it's in Lockport Township and part of it is in Park Township. And he has 2 houses on it. And he wanted to use, you know, again, it's a historical thing. 2 houses were built on the same property and he wanted to use both and they wouldn't let him do it. And he fought for years. He was fighting with 2 townships, Lockport and Park. He passed away, and so his heirs are gonna have to deal with 2 residences on the same property. So this happens in other places other than Fabius, but I've had other cases in Fabius Township with this issue. So,
But we've tried to resolve this, as Mr. McLean said. Recently, I know there's one in Park that Mr. Coleman suggested a land divide, and that solved that problem. I asked about that, and all I ever get is no.
well, one thing you could do is get some advice from an attorney.
We tried, it's very expensive, we're not in a
Yes.
position to do that.
Yes, all right. And so, but in your Facebook posts, you talk about, hey, we need money and we're gonna supplement our income and it's hard running a farm. So the gist of it, it was for revenue generation. And then these new posts, which is exhibit 4. What did I do with that one?
Actually, it's a barter system. That's why the farm housing is so important to us, because if we can have somewhere where, because costs are so outrageous for people to live somewhere, we can't afford to pay somebody $40 an hour to work on our equipment. And that's what that was for. Our equipment is broke down. We're not physically able to fix those things anymore. We would like to live out the years we have left.
You
on
keep
our
saying
ground.
this stuff, you're younger than I am, and you make it sound like you got 1 foot in the grave.
No, multiple heart attacks and diabetes will do that to you.
All right, but that's a rental. So if they're there as a farm laborer, you're gonna exchange their labor for a tenancy. That's a rental. And
Is the barter
you're
system not illegal? Is that not allowed anymore?
not in this circumstance. If you had a standalone house that you wanted to have people live in exchange for farm services, you could do that. You can't do it in this structure. There also may be an issue about IRS, whether that's income that someone's providing labor in exchange for a house, but that's not my concern. The answer is yes. If you owned a separate house and you want to have some farm laborers come in there and live there in exchange for working on the farm, you could certainly do that. You just can't do it here.
Unless I could divide our farm,
Yes.
but the township says no on that too.
And I don't know the answer to that. I've seen your home, and as you can tell in the pictures, it's a nice place. You take pride in it. Your part's cleaner than everybody else's part, but I don't know the layout. Just because you want to separate it doesn't mean that you can do it. Now, Mr. Kuhlman spoke to something. Many people want to buy an acre of property and put a storage building on it, or buy 10 acres and put a storage building and store their boats and their property on there. You can't do that anymore unless there's a house on the property. And so you can put up a storage building, and I know people have done it. They put an apartment in it, so it is a house with a building attached. I don't know where or how to draw the line. So the township apparently is telling you no. It involves also the assessor. But you haven't got any legal advice, whether an attorney would say, yes, you can do this, or no, you can't. I don't know the answer to that. It has to do with how the land is configured, how much the acreage is. For one thing, there's one well. You'd have to put in a separate well, separate electrical service, separate address. You could turn your house into a duplex and have lawful rent the other half of it. There's a way to do that. The problem here is with this ancillary building with a fully furnished apartment in it that people are renting. And you're gonna get right back into it with these homesteaders for exchange. You got all these people that want to do it. And
Which nothing came of that, by the way.
good.
Your Honor,
Yes,
I just want, before we think, we got a little light bulb glimmering here when you reference the short-term rentals. Yes, Fabius does have short-term rentals, but it has to be the main house, the entire house, so it could not be one of these, like this building either, or they couldn't segregate. If they made a duplex, that could be a different issue, but she can't get a short-term rental registration for
this structure.
Never wanted it for that. You assumed from the beginning that I wanted it for that.
Well, I don't know. That was maybe an option to pursue, but it isn't.
I tried that option and I was shut down completely.
All right, well, you
There's
can't.
already too many in the township and they're not.
Yeah,
going
the
to
other,
allow
they were
anymore.
gonna allow 20, and And number 22 and 23 are just out of luck, I guess. Which is interesting because a lot of those lakes have small cottages on them that have been rented for years. And that's an issue of contention that I don't want to get involved in. All right, so I keep cutting you off. You had some other things you wanted to tell me.
I did go to the township meetings a few times, not for lack of something better to do, but to know what maybe I could learn, because I kind of get shut down all the time. And I was there when they were talking about the Airbnbs and the Verbos. And that's what prompted that letter a year or so ago. He always assumes that I'm gonna put somebody in that apartment, but that's not true. It sat vacant for years until I got stupid and let Colleen in. But I still don't consider that stupid. I'm still a human. She was homeless. And at the end of the day, I'm still happy that I tried to help somebody. The only thing I got out of it was a lot of grief, and I kept her dog for her.
Yes.
But
Now, someone in that case, there were supposedly some texts. I was looking at my
Mhm.
notes.
I tried to charge her rent to try to get her out,
Okay,
but I never actually got any. And that's when they I gave her all the ammunition she needed. I told her when I let her the first night, I said, and I don't have any of the furniture out there, that was all hers. Which she unloaded the whole van by herself, by the way.
well, I was
I
curious. and that was
can't, I can't lease this. I can't,
You
you know, it's
can't,
just
you can't.
farm. So she knew exactly who to call.
Yes, so that goes under the category of no good deed goes
un-
unpunished.
I've slept with that in my thoughts.
And all right, so no one's in there now?
No. Not since Colleen left and I scrubbed it up, but getting the cigarette smoke out, I'd like to have
Yes,
some
and
suggestions.
it was bad all the way around. She had some issues.
But I tried to do a good deed and I'm still gonna hang on to that. But the Airbnb thing, when I was at the meetings, I didn't know that just after I was at the meetings that they set the numbers. And then just the last meeting, I learned why, because there's a big thing going on with all the lakes and all, and I don't live that way, so I don't understand that. You do maybe.
Well, I don't. There's rentals on Clear Lake, there's rentals on Corey Lake, there's rentals on Pleasant Lake. And if you limit it to 20.
That's a lot.
I think maybe they did they do 40?
They originally had 40, they reduced it to 30.
30.
And if you're next door to somebody, that's too many. But at the
Yes.
last meeting, they're discussing how many docks you can have. Because Roberts has got like 50 docks and Happy Landing's got 50 docks.
Yes,
and-
that's an issue that we've been struggling
But
with.
this doesn't apply to us. We sit smack in the middle of 50 acres.
Yes.
You know, I tried to look ahead on what I might need and like a study about how I've impacted people. Not one of my neighbors ever knew I had anybody there on the farm. But I don't have any close neighbors.
No,
So, you know, and you're right, we do try to keep our place nice and we're living in the wrong century.
perhaps. There was a time when, in my early career, some townships had no zoning. Flower Field at one time, when I first started, had no, you could have cited a nuclear waste site next to a child daycare center. There was nothing to prohibit anything. People will put 4 trailers on a lot and do things that ship has long since sailed. As Mr. Coolman said, every township in the late 70s and up into the early 80s has zoning enforcement. And as you heard, his replacement represents a number of other jurisdictions. There's 24 municipalities in St. Joe County. I think there's 16 townships and 8 cities and villages who all have zoning. Some of it is universal. State codes, state building codes, federal building codes, and some of it is particular to each township or each village. I believe what you're asking to do here would not be permitted under any of the 24 units in the county. And it just is what it is.
I'm still perplexed why the supervisor and the secretary and the inspector all said it was okay. I still linger on that because they knew exactly what we were gonna do. As I read my uneducatedness on the ordinances, it still says farm housing. It doesn't say if it could be a tent or a tree house or whatever. It just says farm housing, not migrant. I don't want migrant and all that. Farm housing for someone to stay there to help with the farm.
All right, well, there may be something that says that in one context, but in the township zoning context, you can't do it. And Gene Dunlap and John Nyken, and God rest their souls, are all gone. Things were done back in the day on a handshake and something written on the back of a napkin, but that isn't the way it is.
Clearly.
We're 30 or 40 years beyond that. And you knew since then that you couldn't do this. And you're
We
still trying.
tried to have conversation. I even had recently with Dave Hassinger, who was on the Board of Appeals, and he says, why have I never been made aware of this? Because this is an appealable thing. I've been told by many people that this should be okay.
Well, I'm not saying maybe you could, there are things you could do perhaps to make this legal. You could have the house made a duplex and rent
Which we
some.
considered, because they
All
took
right,
away my
you-
homestead, so.
You
long
could
ago.
perhaps figure out a way to separate these two pieces of property. Put in a separate well, give it a separate address. But that hasn't been done. And people made a complaint previously. This lady made a complaint, and then Protective Services made a complaint, and they really didn't have any option to ignore it. And you're right, he condemned it, but she wouldn't go. I guess theoretically, I could have had some sort of, I've done it, emergency order to remove somebody. But you had a landlord tenant case, she still didn't go. You had to pull her out of there by her fingertips to finally get the eviction in effect. But so it's empty. All right, I've got, I don't have the ability to go into the afternoon because I have sobriety court at 1 o'clock today. So is there anything else you want me to know about this case?
Regina Chapman is in here because I would like to call her as a witness if she's willing. She stayed in the house, not the barn, after a house fire. Is she willing?
Well, you're certainly willing to testify. I'm not sure it'll help, but if you want to come up and tell me what you know about this, Ms. Chapman, will you come forward? Come right up.
We've been friends forever.
Well, I've known her longer than you have, so we'll go back to 8th grade. So you were in about 4th grade then. All right. You swear or affirm any testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true to the best of your knowledge and belief.
Yes.
All right.
So
Have
what
a,
we got?
yes.
Bible.
No bites.
Bibles. No Bible.
That's a swear or affirm. All right. Would you state your name for the record, please?
Yeah, Regina Chapman.
Them, she's not triggering the microphone.
Where you want the whole? Regina
No.
Marie Chapman?
No, that's fine. I'm gonna put it on the witness.
Okay, as I said, there's a delay.
All right, what would you like me to know?
Well, in 2006, we had a house fire at our place. And by the time we live on 54012 Wilbur Road, we're about 2 miles east of Mary's house, but we're in Park Township. And by the time everything got cleared out, they told us we couldn't stay at the house anymore, even though it was just smoke damage. But Mary was the first one to volunteer that we could stay in their basement. And I didn't have any adult children at home. They were all in college at the time, which Mary still had. You had 3 adult kids at the house. So we lived in the basement and we went back and forth to the house to get our belongings and things like that. We were there for 4 months and tried, I worked as a nurse in Kalamazoo, so I did that, and Gary was at American Axle and husband. So, and it was very comfortable. I mean, it was everything we ever needed, and she always went over and above anyways for decorating and everything, but I'm thinking, in this day and age, I mean, I bet you could walk into any of these business farms, like I'm thinking Nagel's over there with Gladio. How many people don't have TVs? You know, you gotta have heat in your offices, in your barns, I don't care if it was in your house. But I thought, gosh, that's good ideas. And everybody's playing video games, so you can't live without a TV to watch video games, even in business. But anyways, yeah, it was a great stay. I mean, I've been over there many times. I mean, she has, her children were always there. We never knew when the kid, you know, her grandkids were gonna drop in and spend the night. It's like, are we limited to how many bedrooms we can have in a home? And just the fact there was no bed actually in that house. I mean, she used to have bigger dogs, but these little ones now that she's got, I mean, the dogs would take up a whole room. And so I could see that very easily, but, oh, what else did I make? I don't know. Do you have any other questions, I guess?
To speak to my character, I guess, to have been accused of being a nuisance, I cannot tell you how deep that cut. I try everything not to be a nuisance, and to be charged with that and to take my home on Social Security and bond.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, you've always been there to lend a hand to either people with your church, people in the community. You had the big 4th of July parties, and it was you that fed almost everybody at these things. You have gone over and above the average limitation for people. I mean, as far as taking care, and so with Gary too. So,
And I live in fear now. I had the Chamber of Commerce, I was part of their tour, and I was scared.
Your
why
Honor,
wouldn't
this
do
was
that
in
right?
2006. The citation is from 2025, nearly 20 years later. I think we're getting to a point of not being relevant. I can appreciate we're trying
We're
to
way
go with
off that
this,
point. I
but
thought I
this
would
is
just
just
let
not
it.
relevant in any way.
No, she has good character. She let her friend live there 20 years ago,
And
well
many
before all
others.
this.
Many others.
All right.
if there's
Um,
anything else that you'd like to know about any other situations that I could bring?
Why
to
don't,
light?
are you familiar with some of the other goings on in the different townships that this is gonna?
That's not
probably-
relevant either.
It's not?
No,
Okay.
people often try to raise that as a defense. Let's say, it always comes down to people want to use their property in a certain way and the township doesn't like it. Somebody's got 57 junk cars parked back in the woods, leaking radiator fluid and transmission fluid into the groundwater, and the township says you can't do that. And the guy says, well, it's my land, I ought to be able to use it the way I want. So there's a fundamental dispute between what people want to do with their own land and zoning enforcement.
Well, I agree. We
So-
need code enforcement. for
So
our
none of
safety.
this is helpful. None of this helps your cause. It isn't relevant. And I thought perhaps maybe Ms. Chapman knew something more. Do you know anybody that did rent the property from Ms. McLean?
No, I didn't.
All right, you can step down.
After COVID.
Yeah.
Everything stopped.
Everything stopped.
Until
Yeah,
I
that-
got,
All right, any
well, I
other?
guess I'm at the court's mercy.
All right. I guess we all are. All right, Ms. Gershwin, anything else you would like me to know?
I have one sentence, just that the court stated that whether or not people were living in the main dwelling, that was the only hazy issue. Mr. McLean stated that other people were living at the house that were not family. I think that satisfies that element. I do have a prepared court order that is several conditions. I'm happy to go through all those conditions if the court would like, or hand the order to the court.
Let me see it. But we have the testimony about the visiting nurse renting storage space. and they're occasionally staying there. Um,
Would you like to amend your testimony?
but the more compelling case is, and that was supposedly, again, not very clear, somebody living in the basement that left before they got there. I'm not clear of the terms of that. All right, here's what they're asking. No person or domestic animal is permitted to sleep in, dwell in, reside in, relax in, bathe in any barn, accessory building, second or third dwelling unit, camper, garage, makeshift shelter on the property. That's awfully broad. So if they come in after working on the farm and they want to go in that place and take a shower on that side before they go into the house, this would not allow them to do that. If they wanted to have their dogs spend the night out there because it was barking, this wouldn't allow them to do that. That's awfully broad. Well, I'm not sure I'm ready to do this. Defendant shall remove the illegal kitchen and bathroom from the barn on the subject property by disconnecting all gas and electric lines thereto, moving all appliances and plumbing facilities, removing the flooring and returning the barn to a full agricultural building. Utilities shall remain disconnected and the barn used only for agricultural purposes thereafter. No construction may continue or take place on the barn unless the zoning permits have been secured. As of the date of this order, the defendant shall not rent out or allow the use of the separate portions of the house as dwelling units. Again, overly broad. That means they couldn't have their kids live there. Shall not rent out or allow the separate portions of the house as dwelling units. By no later than 30 days after the signing of this order, the defendant shall eliminate the use of the house on the subject property as 3 separate residential units. Only one single family dwelling is permitted on the subject property. Defendant shall remove the illegal appliances, washer, dryer, electrical services, upgrades, and bathrooms from the basement and the second floor of the subject property. Defendant shall remove the separate entrances to the second and third floors and return the house to its original approved condition. By no later than 30 days after the signing of this order, the defendant shall obtain after the fact building permits for any construction and or appliance installation on the power upgrades that have occurred to the house on the subject property after it was initially inspected and approved for occupancy. That's unclear as to what that is. The defendant shall expose concealed work. There shall be no occupancy of the second floor of the house until such time as a certified complaint with the minimal occupancy standard in the zoning ordinance of Fabius Township. The basement may not be occupied for dwelling purposes. The defendant shall not rent out any portions of the buildings or structures on the property. The defendant shall thereafter utilize the subject property in compliance with the township zoning ordinance by ensuring that only a single family dwelling is utilized for dwelling purposes. Dwelling shall mean living in, sleeping in, reclining in, bathing in, cooking, or sheltering in the building. Travel trailers, tents, accessory buildings, motorhomes, and makeshift shelters do not constitute dwellings pursuant to the ordinance and are not safe for dwelling purposes. I did notice in one of the photographs, there was what I believe a motorhome parked there.
That's ours.
All right. The township ordinance enforcement officer is hereby authorized to access the property for purposes of making compliance inspection, taking photographs after 15 days of this order. If the defendant fails to bring the subject property in compliance with the ordinance by the date specified herein or thereafter, fails to maintain the subject property in compliance with the ordinance, the court will enter an order requiring the defendant to appear before the court at a specified date and show cause why this should not be found in contempt of the compliance provisions of this order as allowed by law. If the contempt hearing is held, the court will consider the township's motion to effectuate removal of the barn and removal of added construction done to the interior of the house, charge costs against the defendant and the property. So I'll call this the nuclear option. They're asking me to have you tear everything out of the barn, to tear everything out of your house. And don't laugh, you
This
got
is a
to,
perfect example of how we've been treated.
all right, well, you got a tiger by the tail. And I'm not at this point in a position to order what they're asking for. We're gonna need more time on this. Some of what they're asking for is overly broad. You have some defenses that could aid your case. At some point, somebody let you do this, somebody of authority from the township.
It's a Miles home. It's a Kit home. It came that way.
All right, but they had this thing, they came out, the electrical inspector inspected it, the plumbing inspector inspected it, and it was installed. The health department let you, by permit, put in a new septic tank and drain field. Apparently in 2017, it was okay to have your children live upstairs and downstairs. And it still is, as far as I'm concerned. So although they have some representation by your husband that some lady was staying there part-time, and there's a vague unknown person who may or may not have been living in the basement. And they're asking for overly broad sanctions. Some of it's your own damn fault. You've overstepped what you knew you were supposed to do, and you're trying to tiptoe around the rules. You can afford a motorhome, but you can't afford a lawyer.
It's 25 years old.
All right, well, you could greatly benefit from legal counsel. And you're doing the best you can, but you don't understand all the ramifications of this. This is tens of thousands of dollars worth of sanction to you. You couldn't use your upstairs, you can't use your downstairs, you gotta tear the entire kitchen and apartment out of the ancillary building. That's the relief they're requesting. I didn't understand that at the beginning. Maybe I'd have looked at this in a different light. But we obviously are gonna need more time for this. Question is where? I don't know where right now. The order temporarily is no one is to reside in that apartment in the barn. You can shower in there. You can go out there and watch TV, but you can't have a tenant in there.
We have drained the pipes.
Well, I have a friend that had this same issue. They built two structures on the same property and he had to condemn the drain field and shut off the water. Yes, sir.
My shop is in that same building and the furnace in there, and the air conditioning in that also, and water goes into my shop also.
Well, you can
So, I mean,
use
some of
that.
these things are eliminating.
Yes, would turn that into an empty barn with no electricity and no water. All right, I don't know the date. I gotta find a place to put this. I continue this for further hearing regarding sentence or ruling regarding requested relief from the township. I have a staffing session at 1 o'clock and then sobriety court starts at 2:30. But there's a lot of things that are gonna need to be further parsed out. In zoning matters, the court has equitable jurisdiction, the district court. Generally, I'll just leave it at that. Equitable jurisdiction would give the court the authority to order things like this. I've ordered buildings be torn down. I've ordered that somebody built their house and it was in the road right of way. And somebody somewhere said, "Ah, that looks okay." Well, I ordered it be torn down. I've ordered a number of things to be torn down. This is what they're asking for. It isn't necessarily that I'm required to order that. I do have discretion in the matter. And, but they're asking for the nuclear option to have you take that completely out of there because you you continued to rent it.
That's exactly what Doug told us in 2017, that it needed to be torn out.
Yes, but somebody, they let you do it. And they permitted it.
And they're gone now.
And they're gone now, but there was electrical, it wasn't a secret. But all right, we're just gonna have to set this for a continued date. It might not be until after the first of the year. November contains deer hunting season. And so I'll be covering for Judge Pattison a lot. December's got stuff in it and it's got the holiday in it. So I don't have a place to put this. I'm gonna have to block out at least a half a day for further ruling. I'm serious. You could greatly benefit from legal counsel.
Is there anything available for Social Security people to
No,
help with
we
this?
don't have appointed counsel in civil cases. You're not at risk of going to jail here. Although they did ask for jail in a certain guy. He kept doing stuff that I told him not to do. 2 children burned up and died on the property after I told him not to do it. And then he continued to do it. And so we set a show cause hearing where I was going to put him in jail. And I got a lawyer for him from the public defender's office. Then he promptly split. So that's never been joined. But in this circumstance, you're not entitled to court-appointed counsel. You're not at risk of being incarcerated. So landlord tenant, small claims, general civil people, and civil infractions like this are not entitled to appointed counsel. You could at least consult with somebody.
Yeah, they want
Yeah, well, it's complicated.
a lot of
So,
money.
yes.
Ron?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Doug talked to my wife the first time and all these things that, have been said, what we were and weren't supposed to be doing that. He never spoke to me about it. He has this time, he told me, all this business is going on. So I guess at this point, what I would like to try and do is to meet with the court and then, as far as that outside building, you don't want that kitchen in there, it sounds like, but water and a shower and, stuff like that. I mean, I said, when all this stuff started going on, what can I use that building for if it isn't gonna be used for, housing for our farm help? So, there is several things that I thought about could be used for, but I need electric and water and I don't need a kitchen.
I don't disagree.
But they wanna-
You can
But I
sit down
would
with,
take that responsibility
all right, well, you
to
can't,
handle.
the court can't get involved in such a discussion, but you could get it with the township.
we've
Now,
tried.
they get their marching orders from the Fabius Township Board. But even then, the board doesn't have authority to supersede what the ordinance says. They can't say, well, we like these people, so we'll let them do that, but we don't like these people. That happens de facto. We're having a hearing regarding somebody in a certain township, and a half a mile away is another place that is worse than the one we're dealing with. But they're not dealing with that, we're dealing with this one. So I don't know the answer to that. There may be rooms for some sort of flexibility and an agreed upon sanction short of this nuclear option.
We've tried. We've been
All
to
right, well,
every,
that's what we're gonna strive for. I don't have a date. It's probably going to be in January of 2026. In the meantime, you don't have to remove anything, but there shall be no rental or housing for compensation in any of those spaces. Your kids can live there. I guess theoretically contribute to household expenses, but nobody can reside in that building in the barn. And part of the problem is they didn't deal with it in 2017.
I agree.
And they said, well, don't do it anymore. Because they cut you a giant break. What they should have done in 2017 is you need to tear this out because it's not in compliance, but they didn't. And then the world went on and you continue to try to finesse it. All right, we'll be in recess. I will advise you all of a date sometime where I can find a place to put it.
Your Honor, the next hearing, just to be clear, is there a finding of responsibility right now and then we'll work on sentencing
Yes,
later?
there is a
Okay,
finding of responsibility. We'll work on the sanction
thank you.
in both citations. We'll be in recess, so put some
Thank you,
notes
Your Honor.
together during lunch.